Has the battle for automatic promotion in the Championship now become a three-horse race after the weekend we've just seen unfolding? Sunderland losing 1-0 at home against Hull. It now means the Black Cats are 8 points adrift of the top two, and that point gap could grow even further after tonight's game, where we've obviously got Sheffield United going up against Leeds in one of the biggest fixtures of this Championship season so far. Plenty to talk through in today's video. Obviously, we've got to touch on Burnley as well, who absolutely swept aside Sheffield Wednesday. We're going to look into the race for automatic promotion, how many points it's likely going to take to get over that dotted line this season. And as well as that, we also have a couple of matches coming up in midweek as well, which we will be previewing at the end of today's video. So we've got Cardiff against Hull and Stoke up against Middlesbrough, both coming up in midweek. So following the weekend of action we have just had in the Championship, this is how the league table now shapes up. Obviously, we've still got Leeds and Sheffield United to play tonight on Monday night, which should be absolutely fascinating. But Burnley, after their statement win against Sheffield Wednesday, are keeping the pressure on the top two. The same can't quite be said for Sunderland, who have now dropped 8 points behind in the race for automatic promotion. And before we do touch on Sunderland, because we will be discussing them quite a bit in today's video, I want to give a shout out to Hull City, because their away record of late has been absolutely unbelievable. Since the end of December, they've gone to Blackburn away and won, Millwall away and won, Sheffield United away and won, and now Sunderland away, and walked away with all 3 points. If they could sort out their home form, they wouldn't have any relegation fears this year, would they? But the Patterson clanger is obviously the talk of the town. It's what's got all the Sunderland fans talking right now, and it was an absolutely horrible moment for the goalkeeper, wasn't it? Not had the best couple of weeks, and obviously that's where a lot of fans will be pointing their fingers right now. Now, in fairness to Patterson, despite dropping that absolute clanger, he has still been statistically one of the best goalkeepers in the league so far this season. In terms of goals prevented, he's been the 8th best shot stopper in the league this season. But as you can see here, Sheffield United's Michael Cooper is above him, and so is Burnley's James Trafford as well. I think most people would probably have those two goalkeepers as the outstanding ones in the Championship so far this season, along with Stoke's Victor Johansson. 15 goals prevented is just an absolute joke. For quite some time, I think he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the league. But yeah, those stats based on the whole season aren't to be sniffed at, but it was an absolute clanger against Hull, wasn't it? The disappointing thing from a Sunderland perspective was that mistake came quite early in the match. You know, it was only after 18 minutes they found themselves behind. They had a lot of time to get back into that game, but despite throwing as much as they could at Hull City in that second half, the Tigers contained their threat fairly well in the end. But I think this paints a picture in itself. Sunderland in the second half had 70% of the ball, but even in that time, you know, Hull only having 30% of the ball, they still managed to craft out, based on XG, the better chances in the second half. In that second 45 minutes, Hull had 2 big chances to Sunderland's 1. And letting a game like that slip away from you on the back of losing that crunch match away at Elland Road last time out, it does feel like Sunderland are probably down and out for the automatic promotion race at this point of the season. Listen, there's still a very good chance that Sunderland find themselves playing Premier League football next season, but if that's going to happen, it feels like it's going to have to be via the playoffs. But a team who certainly isn't giving up on automatic promotion right now is Burnley, and they had that statement win on Friday night against Sheffield Wednesday, putting 4 goals past them, and that one will feel really good for Scott Parker's side, particularly coming off the back of another goalless draw before this, obviously away at Preston. In the case of Burnley, they are on by far and away the longest unbeaten run of any Championship club. They've not lost any of their last 21 league matches, which is an absolutely astonishing run of form. During that time, they've kept 12 consecutive clean sheets as well. Obviously, the thing that could count against Burnley come the end of the season is the amount of draws in there. But on evidence of this game against Sheffield Wednesday, Burnley may pack a bit more of a punch in the final third in this end of the season. Certainly with the addition of Edwards, who obviously looked very lively in this one. Benson scored an absolute cracker as well late on, didn't he? And to be fair to Burnley, at the start of the season, I think there was a real problem there with chance creation. They just weren't creating enough chances. They were really stingy in the final third. They'd be relying on either a penalty or the odd goal here or there to get ahead, and then they just see the game out. But of late, I do think they have been creating more chances. Of their games recently, I mean, they barely created anything against Leeds, and against Portsmouth, they were quite underwhelming in the final third as well. But other than that, in a lot of their recent matches, I think they've been getting into a lot of decent goal-scoring positions. Obviously, they put 5 goals past Plymouth. Against Oxford, they only won 1-0, but even looking into some of the underlying stats, they created a decent amount of chances in this game. An XG of 1.6, 4 big chances. Against Hull, I thought they cut through them with relative ease, to be honest with you. Found themselves 2 goals up after just 21 minutes of that game. 3 big chances, an XG of 1.4. Even against Preston as well, it was by no means a star-studded performance in terms of, fluid football in the final third or anything like that. And to be honest, they only created an XG of 1 in that game. But my God, did Burnley squander some big gilt-edged chances in that one against Preston. A couple of chances particularly falling to a player at the back post. Scott Parker will be well aware that to get into the top 2 from this point onwards, the amount of points that both Leeds and Sheffield United are currently projected to pick up, he knows that goalless draws between now and the end of the season aren't going to cut that, and perhaps we saw the start of something on Friday night with them putting 4 goals past Sheffield Wednesday. Now, in terms of how many points it's actually going to take to get into the top 2 this season, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty high threshold. So from a Sunderland perspective, the amount of points they've currently got on the board, they're currently projected to end the season with 84 points, which definitely won't be enough for automatic promotion. Sunderland would have to improve quite considerably from this point onwards if they are going to get themselves back into the automatic promotion race. But it's when we get into discussing the sides in the top 3 that things get really close in terms of how many points all these sides are projected to end the season with. So Burnley have collected 68 points from their opening 34 matches. If they were to continue to average the same form between now and the end of the season, they'd finish the campaign with 92 points. Now, in a lot of championship seasons, 92 points would be good enough to get you at least into that second spot, but this season, that's not going to be enough. Now, technically, both Leeds United and Sheffield United have accumulated 72 points so far this season. It's just because of Sheffield United's 2-point deduction, they're currently on 70 points. So technically, both those sides have been averaging the same amount of points up until this point of the season. That's 2.18 points per game, and when projected over an entire season, that will be worth 100 points. So as things stand, Leeds are projected to finish the season with 100 points. Sheffield United are projected to finish the season with 98 points, taking into consideration that 2-point deduction. Now, to be completely honest, I could see both Leeds and Sheffield United finishing with a slightly lower points tally than they're currently projected to pick up, just because they're going to run into a lot of pressure games towards the final 5-6 matches of the season, and I see both sides slipping up at one point. That could very well come on Monday night tonight. But in order to get over the line and for automatic promotion this season, I think you are looking at low to mid-90s as probably a bare minimum. Can I see Sunderland picking up that many points from this point onwards? No. Can I see Burnley picking up that many points from this point onwards? I probably could. I think these are the 3 sides who I think have it in them to be in and around 90 to 95 points come the end of the campaign, and I think it's going to be really close between those sides. I would absolutely love to know from you guys in the comments down below, though, who do you currently have going up as your top 2? Do you think Burnley can gatecrash that party and have Sunderland perhaps left themselves with a bit too much to do between now and the end of the season, following back-to-back losses for the first time this season? Let me know in the comments down below. The race for automatic promotion in the Championship right now is absolutely fascinating. Before we do wrap up today's video, though, we do have a couple of matches coming up in midweek, which we're going to preview now. So the first game we've got coming up on Tuesday sees Cardiff going up against Hull, an absolutely massive game at the bottom of the Championship. Both sides on 33 points right now, 3 points above the relegation zone. If either side can win this one, they could put 6 points between themselves and the bottom 3, which would be a really decent amount of breathing room. Now, Hull on the road last time out got that brilliant win away at Sunderland, and they've had quite a few big away wins under their belt under Ruben Sellers so far, haven't they? They're going up against the Cardiff side who drew 1 apiece last time out with Plymouth. Obviously, they will be without Gutas in this one following his red card in that game over the weekend. Now, to be fair to Cardiff, they have been a fairly tough nut to crack at home recently. They are unbeaten in their last 5 home matches, and Hull fans, do you think there's something in this? For as good as Hull have been on the road of late, and they have been fantastic, I actually think that maybe their game plan, and this goes for both home and away matches maybe, Hull are maybe better geared, especially with how they play under Sellers, to play those sides at the top end of the Championship then maybe they are the teams in and around them. This one screams of a low margin, 1 goal either way or draw, and I think I'm sitting on the fence for it. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between those two. And then the second game we've got coming up in midweek sees Stoke going up against Middlesbrough. For Borough, it's 5 consecutive defeats, and I mean, things are already really toxic, but they'll get even worse if they lose this one. I did get my Borough prediction spot on over the weekend as well. That 2-1 loss against Bristol City, I did call. I was, however, backing Stoke to get a point away at Carrow Road. That didn't transpire in the end. In the end, it was Josh Sargent who was just absolutely unplayable in that game. Lewis Baker scored a brace, but Norwich were the well-deserved winners in the end. But you would fancy Stoke to get something from this game, especially with how drastically Borough's form has fallen off of late. I think I'm right in saying as well that Mark Robins has a really good head-to-head record against Middlesbrough in recent seasons as well, which only adds a bit more flavour to this fixture in midweek. Middlesbrough are absolutely desperate for something, even just to stop the losing rut at the moment, but that lack of confidence right now, particularly at the back, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Stoke home win in that one, which could be the end of Carrick at Borough. But those are the 2 midweek matches we've got coming up in the Championship, so if you want to go ahead and predict those, feel free to drop your score predictions in the comments down below. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, guys. It's always a pleasure. Get all your thoughts on the Championship in the comments down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.